Hey, She Ace That listeners, find us on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Every subscribe, like, and follow goes a long way, and I can't thank you all enough for your support. And with that, let's get into today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to She Said. It's your host Alexandra, and I'm so excited that you're all here today for a solo episode. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the past weekend in college volleyball, and there was some things that shook up the ranking, so let's dive right in. So the biggest story of the weekend, number 3 Kentucky went into Austin and absolutely swept number 2 Texas in straight sets on Sunday. This wasn't just an easy win. This handed Texas their second consecutive loss and completely shook up the SEC standings. Kentucky is now sitting at 11-0 in conference play, and they're making a serious statement that they're not just contenders. They're coming for that national championship. Brooke DeLay and Eva Hudson were absolutely on fire for Kentucky. DeLay dropped 18 kills. Hudson added 20, and together they showed everyone why they're the most dangerous outside hitter duos in the country right now. Kentucky becomes the first team to sweep Texas at Gregory Gym since Oklahoma did it back in 2013. Meanwhile, number 1 Nebraska stayed undefeated at 22-0 with a clean sweep over Oregon on Sunday, extending their set win streak to 40 straight sets. That's right, they haven't dropped a set in over a month. And I really am waiting for somebody to take down Nebraska or even just get a set off of them. It's not that I don't want Nebraska to win the national championship or that they don't deserve to. Clearly, it looks like that trajectory is headed there. But I always love an underdog story, and I'm always here for when somebody can take even a set off of a powerhouse team like Nebraska. So I would love to see somebody do it, and we'll see if that actually happens. Lastly, number 4 Pittsburgh battled through a 5-set thriller against number 21 North Carolina. So now I want to talk about some upsets. Again, love an underdog story. South Carolina took down number 25 Florida in 4 sets. That makes it for the first time in program history that they won 3 straight sets against the Gators. Vanderbilt, sitting at just 6-15 overall, came back from being down 0-2 sets and beat Missouri in 5 sets. That chaos is real, and that is exactly what I love about volleyball is even though you feel like you're 1 set away from losing the entire match, you still have a way to be able to come back. And I do think it really comes down to the leadership, both on and off the court, that is happening during those types of matches. We're getting to the point in the season where every match matters, and the teams that can handle the pressure are starting to separate themselves. Kentucky just proved that they belong in that conversation at the top, and Nebraska does continue to look absolutely unstoppable. So there's your She Aced That weekend recap of the college volleyball chaos, and I'm hoping to keep that segment ongoing. Also really excited because today I'm actually sitting in my office. I'm not hidden in my room. I got doors on my office, and with a toddler, you need that space. And now I have an official podcast space. So I'm super excited. One of my goals this next year is that every podcast guest I've already interviewed or are going to interview, I'm going to start a She Aced That collection wall of putting things behind me that my guests are really passionate about, whether that's a signed volleyball, a jersey of a team that they played or coached on, a flyer of something they're really passionate about. And I'm really excited to see what this wall behind me looks like in a year. So stay tuned. I'll definitely do some behind the scenes updates on why specific individuals chose what they did. And I'm really looking forward to it coming together. So, I've been thinking a lot lately about something I see constantly, whether it's watching high school games, club tournaments, or even talking to college players or professional athletes. So many talented athletes out there, no matter the sport, play scared. And I don't mean scared like they're only terrified or like having panic attacks on the court, though that happens too, obviously. But I mean, they're playing tight. They're hesitating. They're playing not to mess up instead of playing to win. And here's the thing, if you relate, I think the reason you're playing scared might not be what you think it is. With that weird gap between high school season ending and club starting, I think we have this perfect opportunity to actually fix that. So today we're going to talk about what playing scared really looks like, why volleyball might not feel as fun anymore at the end of your high school season. And then I'm going to give you some actual tangible things you can do during this upcoming off season to reset and come to club season playing free. So let's dive into it. All right, let me paint you a picture. You're in serve receive. The ball's coming to you. And in that split second, instead of just playing the ball, you're thinking about your platform angle. You're thinking about that shank you had maybe 2 rotations ago. You're thinking about your coach watching, everybody in the stands watching. You're thinking about that girl on the other side of the net who just got a D1 offer. You're thinking about everything except just playing the ball. That's playing scared. Or maybe you're a hitter and you're at the 10-foot line about to approach, and instead of seeing the block and making a decision, you're already thinking, don't hit it out, don't hit it out. So you try to guide the ball, you aim for a safe spot, and you basically hand them a free ball because you're so afraid of making a mistake versus risking the mistake and executing a kill. That's playing scared too. The worst part is playing scared doesn't even feel like just fear. It feels like pressure. It feels like perfectionism. It feels like I just need to do my job. It feels responsible, but really you're playing tight and everybody can see it from the outside except you. I want you to think about the last time you played your best volleyball or your best game in whatever sport that you play. I'm willing to bet it wasn't when you were overthinking every move. It was probably when you were just truly playing off your muscle memory and what you know intuitionally. When you were in the flow, when you weren't thinking at all, you were just reacting, just competing, and just having fun. That's playing free. Playing free is when you mess up and you're immediately thinking about the next ball. Playing scared is when you mess up and you're still thinking about it 3 rotations later. Playing free is when you go for the line shot even though you might miss. Playing scared is when you hit cross court every single time because it feels safe. And here's what nobody tells you. Playing it safe is actually the riskiest thing you can do, even though it feels the opposite. Because when you play not to lose, then you've already lost. You're giving away your power. You're making yourself feel small. You're letting the other team dictate everything. I see this all the time, especially with servers. A player has a great jump serve, but they're so scared of missing that they just float it over middle of the court and hand the other team a perfect pass. That's not smart volleyball. Again, that's fear. Or setters who are so afraid of getting tooled that they only set the same hitter over and over, even when the defense is camping there every time. Again, that's not strategy. That's playing tight. The truth is, fear shows up in all these sneaky ways. It shows up as overthinking, as perfectionism, as playing it safe, as caring too much about what everybody else thinks, and it absolutely kills your game. But here's what I've been thinking about, and this is where it gets real. When you're playing scared all the time, when you're that tight all season long, eventually volleyball stops being fun, or the sport you're playing is not fulfilling a passion, it's just a have to. And that's when we have to have a harder conversation, which we're going to have right now. So let me ask you something, and I want you to be really honest with yourself. Nobody else is in your mind. Nobody else is going to hear your response. When was the last time volleyball or the sport that you love was actually fun for you? Not just when everything went perfect, not just winning, but fun. Like you were laughing at practice. You were excited to get to the gym. You left feeling energized instead of drained. If you can't remember, or if you had to really think hard about it, then that's what we're here to talk about today. Because here's what I see happening. You don't trust yourself or your certain team members possibly for so long that now you're just going through the motions. You show up because you're supposed to, you train because that's what you do, but that fire, that love for the game, it's not under you anymore. It's gone. And you feel maybe guilty about it because you've invested so much time, so much money, so much of your identity into the sport. Your parents have driven you to countless tournaments. You've sacrificed other activities. You've put in thousands of hours, so you think you have to keep going, even when deep down you're miserable. And this is the part nobody really wants to talk about. We celebrate the grind. We celebrate playing through pain, pushing through exhaustion, never taking a day off. But we don't talk about the burnout that is associated with that. We don't talk about what happens when volleyball becomes a chore instead of a choice. So let me help you figure out if you're feeling this way, if it's just a rough patch, or if it's actual burnout and you need to do something about it. A rough patch would look like you had a bad game or a bad week. You're frustrated with yourself. Maybe you got benched or you're not starting, but you still want to get better. You still have that competitive fire. You're still showing up every day wanting to be there. You still miss it when you're away from it. Burnout looks like you feel relief when practice gets canceled, which we all do to a point sometimes, so don't be too critical of yourself. You dread going to the gym every single day. You're going through the motions and drills versus actually trying to push yourself through them. You don't care about getting better. You just care about getting through it. And you've lost your why. Here's the thing. Burnout doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're not tough enough. It means you're human, and it means something needs to change. And you are the only one capable of changing it. Sometimes that change is taking a real break. Sometimes it's switching clubs or teams. Sometimes it's playing a different position. Sometimes it's remembering why you fell in love with the sport in the first place. And sometimes, and this is okay to say, it sometimes means stepping away from volleyball entirely. And I've had plenty of friends who have stepped away from volleyball and knew that it was up to them when it would come back into their life. Volleyball will always be there for you. You don't always have to be there for it. And I think a lot of times burnout happens because we've played scared for so long that we forgot what it feels like to play free. We forgot what it feels like to have that confidence. We've been so focused on not messing up, on being perfect, on making everybody else happy, that we stopped playing for ourselves. I've had times where, varsity as a sophomore, I was so not confident in my position. And I just remember feeling like a deer in headlights on the court. And I've coached a lot of girls who have looked and felt the same way. I think it's interesting because even though I knew it, I knew like I had tunnel vision. I was just literally going through the motions because I was horrified on the court. But from the outside, I've seen girls look that same way and feel that same way. And it's so much easier as a coach to try to give them confidence, but it's never up to the coach. It's always going to be up to you. And I actually think the timing of this conversation is perfect because we're all about to hit that awkward gap between high school season ending and club starting. And I genuinely believe this gap, if you use it right, can be exactly what you need to reset. I remember that time being so relieving. Like, I loved high school season, but it also was relieving to kind of have a break and then switch gears into a new team, into a new environment. And I want to take some time to talk about that November and December time period. If you're in high school, your season is wrapping up or just ended. Club tryouts are coming up or you already had them, but club season doesn't really start until January mostly. And if you're like most players, you're about to enter this weird limbo where you don't know what to do with yourself. You don't have daily practice. You don't have that structure guiding you every day in your schedule. And honestly, it probably will feel uncomfortable too. Like, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I doing something wrong? Because for the past 3, 4, maybe even 10 months, volleyball has been your entire identity. It's dictated your schedule, your social life, your everything. And now suddenly you have all this time and you don't know what to do with it. Some of you are going to panic and try to fill every second with as much training as you can because you're afraid of falling behind. Some of you are going to completely check out and not touch the ball for the whole 2 months. And I want to tell you that both of those extremes are missing the point. This gap, this awkward off-season timing, it's actually a gift. This is your chance to reset your relationship with volleyball. This is your chance to remember why you started playing in the first place. This is your chance to come back playing free instead of scared. So I'm going to give you a framework for how to use these next 6 to 8 weeks. And I want you to know that this isn't about grinding. This isn't about getting ahead. This is about getting right with yourself in the sport so you're set up for the next season's success. Week 1 and 2. Right after you're done with your playoffs, you get kicked out the first week or you make it to state championships. I'm serious. Actually, rest. For the first week or 2 after your season ends, I want you to do nothing volleyball related. No touches, no watching film, no going to open gyms because you feel like you should. Really try to do nothing. Like, obviously, if you're feeling it and you want to go pepper in the backyard or with a friend or attend an open gym, please go for it and feel free. But if you've been feeling that little bit of negativity and burnout, it's okay to take a break. And I promise you're going to come back to it better than ever before. It's easy to feel guilty, but like, we're the only ones accepting that guilt, and you don't have to. Give your body a break. Give your brain a break. Sleep in, hang out with non-volleyball friends, watch that show everybody's been talking about, go to the movies, read a book, be a normal teenager or college student or whatever you are. And I know what you're thinking, like, but what if I lose my skills? What if everyone else is training and I fall behind? Here's the truth. You won't. 2 weeks off isn't going to ruin you. It's not going to change the catalyst of where you felt at the end of your season. But 2 more months of playing burned out and tight and scared may make you fall behind. Your body needs rest. Your mind needs rest. And rest is not lazy. Rest is actually strategic. And I need to also remind myself that every single day. And I'm not even an athlete anymore. Week 3 or 4 after, definitely go into low pressure play. Like, you want to get your body slowly moving again. But once you are those few weeks out of starting your next volleyball season or sports season, and if you miss volleyball and if you really want to touch a volleyball, do it. But here's the key. make it low pressure, and make it fun. You want to reset your brain chemistry towards the sport and gear up in the most positive way you can going into the next season. Go to an open gym, pepper with a friend, queen of the court, scrimmage games where there's nothing on the line, touch the ball without your coach watching, touch the ball without keeping stats. This is where you start to remember what made volleyball fun. Why did you pick this sport over any others? It wasn't the pressure, it wasn't the rankings, it was the feeling of a perfect pass, the sound of a kill, the celebration with your team, the competition, the flow state of the sport and being on the court. If you don't feel like playing during week 3 or 4 of your off season, it's totally fine. And that might mean you need even more time for yourself. So listen to yourself because every player is different and there's no rule book when it comes to off season training and recovery. Something though that is ongoing throughout your off season should be cross training that doesn't feel like the specific sport you're playing. So one of the best things you can do during this gap is move your body in ways that aren't volleyball. Like go for a hike, try yoga, go swimming, play pickup basketball, even if you've never touched a basketball in your life, go rock climbing, dance, literally anything that gets you moving but uses different muscles and different mental energy. This does two things. One is it keeps you active without the volleyball pressure, and two, it makes you a better athlete. So the best volleyball players I know aren't just volleyball robots. They're well-rounded athletes who know how to move, who have body awareness, and who can think strategically in different contexts. Plus, it's really hard to be burnt out on volleyball when you're not doing volleyball all the time. So you're just adding this to your toolbox to get prepared for your next season. And you need a mental reset. So this sounds cheesy, but hear me out. At some point during this gap, truly sit down with a notebook or your notes app and actually write out answers to the following questions. What do I miss about volleyball? What don't I miss? What was the last time I had genuine fun playing? What would make volleyball fun again for me? Am I playing for me or for somebody else? What am I afraid of? And what would it look like to play free? You don't have to share these with anybody. This is just for you, but I promise getting honest with yourself about where you're at is the first step to fixing it. And lastly, some skills work. If you do want to work on something during this gap, pick one thing, not 10 things. One. Maybe it's your serve. Maybe it's your setting. Maybe it's your vertical. Maybe it's your court vision. Pick one thing that you genuinely want to get better at over these next couple of months and play with it. Not perfect it, play with it. Go to an open gym and just serve for 30 minutes. Not because you have to, but because you want to see if you can hit that corner. Film yourself setting, see what you notice. Do box jumps in your garage and see if you can add an inch to your vertical over the next couple months. The key here is no pressure. You're experimenting, you're exploring, you're not trying to be perfect, you're trying to be curious. Finally, set a check-in date. This is important. Don't just drift through the off season hoping you'll feel better. Pick a date, maybe mid-December. How do I feel about volleyball right now? Am I excited to get back to it? Do I still need more time? And what needs to change for me to play freely? Give yourself permission to reassess. Maybe you realize you do love this sport, you just needed a break. You needed a mental decompress from the people or the environment that you've been in for the past few months and all summer. Maybe you realize you need to have some hard conversations with your coach or your parents. Maybe you realize you need to switch clubs or teams to change your environment. Whatever it is, give yourself permission to be honest, but start with you and what you genuinely want. It's so easy to look at our parents and be like, oh, they want me to play for this club. They've supported me for so long, or they want me to fulfill this sport versus another. But really look inward because one day you just really don't want to be resentful for that feeling. One thing I see all the time is that volleyball friendships sometimes only exist in the gym. You only hang out with your teammates at practices or tournaments, and that makes volleyball feel a little bit more suffocating. During this gap, hang out with your volleyball friends outside of volleyball. Remember that if these are your true friends, they don't just have to be your teammates. You don't have to be friends with your teammates either. But I wouldn't try to find a hard line. I would allow it to flow. That makes the most sense to you. And it kind of helps you separate your identity from your performance. You can be not the best volleyball player on a given day and still be a great friend. And you can have a terrible tournament and still have people who support you and like you for who you are, not for your performance or what you're doing on the court or in the gym. And one last thing, I want to give you two statements and I want you to know that both are completely true. It's okay to not touch a volleyball for 3 weeks. You're not lazy. You're not falling behind. you're resting, and rest is actually productive. It's also okay to play pickup or go to an open gym if you miss it. You are not a tryhard. You're not constantly, trying to train or be this superhero, but you genuinely enjoy the sport. And I think that's beautiful. And if you are one of those people, run with it and as much as you can. Do you see what I'm trying to do here? Is like, I'm giving you permission to listen to yourself, not to tell you what to do, not to tell you what everyone else is doing, not to look at what social media says you should be doing, but to do what you actually need. Some of you need complete rest. Some of you need lower pressure play. Some of you need to try a different sport for a while. Some of you need to remember why you love the game in the first place. And every single one of you listening is valid for different reasons. So here's what I want you to take away from this episode. If you're playing scared, it's not because you're weak or untalented. It's because somewhere along the way, volleyball became about not messing up instead of about playing your game. And you can change that. But it starts with getting honest about where you're at, and it starts with what are you going to do about it. If volleyball doesn't feel fun anymore, you're not broken, you're not ungrateful, you might just truly be burnt out, and people get burnt out for random things all of the time. Burnout is fixable, but only if you address it instead of pushing through it. I've been there. I've played scared. I've been burnt out, and I always came back to that sport. And if I can do that, so can you. This upcoming gap between seasons, this is your chance. This is your opportunity to reset, to rest, to remember, to come back playing free or not to come back at all. And both of those options are okay. Because here's the bottom line. You're not behind if you rest. You're behind if you burn out completely and have to walk away from this sport you love because you didn't give yourself permission to take care of yourself. So use this off season wisely. Rest your body, reset your mind, remember your why, and come back ready to play free. Make that your goal this next season. Or don't come back at all, and that's okay too, like I've said 1,000 times. Thanks for listening to She Aced That this week. If this episode resonated with you, send it to a teammate who might need to hear it. We have a really exciting guest for next week. I'm excited for you all to hear. And as always, love chatting with you all. Please send me DMs on future topics that you'd like to discuss, or if you want to add something to my She Aced That collection wall that I'm building, would love to take anything that you guys are passionate about. Thank you all for joining She Aced That this week, and we'll see you next Wednesday.